So one of my favorite Zen phrases is that enlightenment is an accident and meditation makes us accident prone. I like this because I think it expresses the quality of non-striving both accurately and humorously. So it speaks to the truth that if we try to get somewhere with our practice, likelihood is we won't get anywhere with our practice. And yet, if we don't try to get anywhere with our practice, we're already getting somewhere with our practice. Which of course sounds completely paradoxical and nonsensical from a logical, linear, rational point of view. And that's kind of the point, because practice drops us beneath that linear, rational, conceptual mode of relating with our experience that depends on particular reference points, usually reference points of the past or reference points of the future. And we use these reference points to gauge how things are going, and therefore to tell us where we need to go next. And that produces almost kind of automatically the striving to be someplace else. And that works fine sometimes. It works fine if you've got a project that you want to complete, a goal that you want to reach. But it relies on a mode of processing called discrepancy-based processing, so it relies on actually identifying what's not how we want it to be in the present moment. And as soon as we recognize what we don't want to be here that is here, we've focused on a gap that has a deleterious effect on our well-being. Because as soon as we kind of focus on what's not going well, we start to feel that. We feel the effects of that. So we might feel stressed by that focus. Or we might feel a kind of an urgency to get to the place that we're not at. So it's what drives us, to very effectively to complete goals and tasks and accomplish stuff, and that's needed sometimes. However, it comes unstuck when we try to apply it to our own inner states, or indeed outer states that we can't actually change with our striving. When we try to apply it to inner states, what happens is we go around in a loop, because if we try to be who we're not, that's impossible. So we end up just in a struggle with ourselves. And so actually it becomes the constant striving, the constant discrepancy-based processing, the identification with the goals that actually leads to us in a state of stress. And of course, if our goal is to experience stress reduction, we talk about mindfulness-based stress reduction, then the attempt to achieve stress reduction has the opposite effect from what's intended, which is why this paradox of mindfulness training is actually not a paradox, because it seems that the way to reduce our stress is to not try to reduce our stress, but rather, because there is some work to do. It's not like we can just go, okay, well, that's that done, then everything's fine. maybe it's another paradox, that in order to let go of that striving mode, there is some practice required for most of us, because we aren't used to it. We are used to kind of being on the automatic pilot, the treadmill of rushing and doing and getting and avoiding and so on. So it actually takes a kind of work to undo that tendency, even just for a time. And so meditation practice becomes the work of undoing that doing. Hence, by giving ourselves to not trying to get anywhere, that's how we get there. But of course, where we're getting actually isn't there all the time, it's here. So the great discovery of meditation practice is that actually what we need is already here. So there is no there to get to, actually. There's a kind of an imagined idea of the future and rememberings of the past, but they don't exist except within our own conceptual mind, which happens right here and now. So there's no need to strive when it comes to meditation practice, and striving when it comes to well-being generally gets in the way rather than helps. So that doesn't mean, by the way, that we can't succeed in our intentions. It doesn't mean that we can't give ourselves to transformation and change, both within ourselves and in the world. And what it means is that the way that we approach that might be more skillful if we can first connect with the present moment as it is. Otherwise, we're trying to change a fantasy anyway. So until we actually come down into the reality of now, it becomes very difficult actually to create effective change, because our minds and our attention is focused on something that doesn't exist except as a concept in our own minds. So by coming into the embodiment of now, we actually create the conditions for maximizing our influence over what comes next, but not by trying to focus on what comes next. So that happens as a byproduct of our giving our energy to now. So another Zen story on this, there's a story of a student going to, their meditation teacher and saying, how long will it take me to master this? And the teacher sort of, shrugs and says, 10 years. And so the student says, oh, it's a long time. How about if I really try? And the teacher says, 20 years. So that's why these Zen stories are great. They're lovely ways of sort of just, speaking a truth that can't be spoken in logic. So meditation, mindfulness is a discovery, not an attainment. It's something we find rather than we look for. And we find it by dropping into ourselves and discovering that the jewel is already here. It's just that we've got to pay attention to it and look where it might be found, which is here, rather than in the future where it doesn't exist. The jewel is here and now. So let's engage in some of this work of non-striving, of undoing, through the practice of meditation.